Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Previously on First Paso.
I think whatever culture you come from, the main thing to show your children in the home is structure and love. And once you do that, you allow your children, you let your children know that number one, they're the most important person or people in this home. They're the most special people in this home. And you love them unconditionally. So when you teach your children and when you show your children that they're loved no matter what, they're valued and they're cared for no matter what, and their opinion matters. Their opinion matter no matter what. And I let you know that I love you so much that there is nothing that you can do to take that love away, to make me not love you. So it doesn't matter what it is. We want the best for you. Whatever you do, this is a safe place. You can come and talk to us about it.
You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso. Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candice Olushala, and today we start right where we left off last time with my mom explaining how a healthy parent-child relationship starts with the foundation of structure and love.
I love you so much that there is nothing that you can do to take that love away, to make me not love you. Your dad and I love you so much that no matter what you do, we will always love you. So it doesn't matter what it is, we want the best for you. Whatever you do, this is a safe place. You can come and talk to us about it. And that way you guys have always come to talk to us about everything. You guys openly would tell us about anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, what we will do, we'll discuss, okay, why did you make this decision? Was there a different way you could have handled this? And if you didn't change it, or if you didn't fix it yet, how can we fix it? What other choices could you have made? And we always went through that. What did you learn from this? And how could you do it better? And in the future, what choice would you make? We always go through. And so we always got calls, Mom or Dad, you wouldn't like this, but, or I have good news and I have bad news. Which one do you want first? So you guys are always open to tell us anything and everything. Some things we didn't want to know about, but you guys told us anyway. And when you found that it was a safe place, because we allowed you to know that home is a safe place. We are the ones who love you the most, and we're the ones who would let you know how to do things, change things, make things better, or whatever. And you might disappoint us, but we will always love you, and that's
So,
why.
and also, for the two of us, probably The strongest part of our relationship is our faith. And our faith is based on love. And when we started having children and raising children, we not only did we deal with each other lovingly, but we dealt with the kids in a loving way. We were never abusive. We were not screaming. We didn't have big fight where she or I was cussing and throwing things. So there was tranquility within the home. There was love in the home, and we didn't scare the kids as far as, oh, you did something terrible. And so I think the children kind of grew up feeling comfortable that there's not going to be some serious repercussion if they told us the truth. We weren't going to bite their head off. We weren't going to take out some belt. I mean, you hear about parents who beat their kids with belts and stuff. We didn't have those kind of stuff. So talking to your kids, there's never a reason to physically abuse and beat the kids. So I think the kids knew us as parents. They knew we were in charge, but at the same time, the love that we have filtered down, and again, the love that we have is based on our faith. And so with that's really what makes everything easy. Okay, when you have the fear of your creator and you realize that you're not perfect and you're willing to meet the other person halfway. So we ourselves are always, it's easy for us to work things out. We have a disagreement, it's easy. We don't blow the gasket. So a lot of that just filtered straight into our children. So the children see it. I don't expect any of my boys to be violent because they've never seen me be violent towards my wife, towards their mother. So it's just not who we are. And that also goes back into my background. I've never seen my father beat my mother, and I've never seen any of my siblings beat their spouses. It's just not what we do. So a loving environment, a loving home will breed children that are loving, and that's the key. That's the key.
So, okay, to so you start off with the foundation of being an example of the love that you're trying to show your kids, even not even just with each other, but like showing us how to love each other, which I think for me it was pretty easy to love my brothers. We were very friendly with each other. I mean, I have baby pictures of Kevin literally not letting go of mom's stomach because he wanted to kiss it all the time because he loved the baby that's inside. And then when I was born, he thought I was his. Just like when Kellen was born, actually when mom was pregnant, I thought I was pregnant, and I was definitely 3 years old, and I definitely thought I birthed Kellen, and I called him my Kellen for a very long time and introduced him to everyone as my Kellen. But it was that sense of understanding that we belonged to each other and we learned how to relate to each other because of the relationship of our parents. So we're very open with each other as siblings as well as open with our parents, which was and still is very countercultural from the culture we were raised in, being American kids who are more taught to keep it to yourself. You don't tell your parents certain things, you don't say certain things. They don't need to know this, they only need to know that. We grew up in a very opposite type of home where both of our parents were like, please tell us everything. We might not want to hear everything you have to say, but we'd rather you tell us so we can give you parental guidance than you go tell someone else and they give you guidance that makes things worse. So, in that lane, I guess, or that train of thought, how I want to know how you guys then navigated the sex topic with us, because I remember I remember going to sex ed in 4th grade, and I felt like I learned absolutely nothing in that class, and that it was just a class to tell us something was changing, then that's it, and that it's weird. They never really said exactly what was changing. They didn't explain anything to us. And I remember Kevin getting a book about development and sex and stuff that was not in color. So my curious self found this book that was not in color. I was like, why would he read this book that's not in color? Let me color it. And so I went. I'm pretty sure I was probably like 7 or 8, so maybe about third grade. And I just went and found this blue book that he had, and I just went and colored all the people in it. Paid no attention to all the positions they were in, just colored them because I didn't think he would like a book that didn't have color. And then he noticed that his book kept getting more colors in it that he was not putting in the book. And he told mom, and mom was like, well, guess I need to get her the girl book since she's already looking up the boy book. And so I got the girl book, and obviously the same thing. I was like, it doesn't have colors in it. Let me color it. So I read it and colored it and learned a lot. And I felt like in our house, and I don't know if it's because you guys are medical or if it's because you guys just wanted to cultivate a culture of openness or both, but the topic of sex and sexual development and sexual activity were not considered taboo topics in our house. When we would go to other people's houses and their parents couldn't even say the word sex, or if they heard the word sex, the world was coming to an end. So we just hid in our friends' rooms and talked about it. But I was like, we don't do this at home. Like we just talk. So how did you guys decide to have that? How did you guys decide to have those sex conversations with us? And especially when we decided we were going to go to boarding school, because when we went to by the time we left home early. So Kevin left at 16. No. Yeah, he left at
15.
Yeah, he was 16, right? Yeah. He left at 16. I left at 16. Kellen left at 14. And so making sure you had all of these topics out before we were living with a whole bunch of random kids in a dorm, hours and hours away. How did you guys navigate those conversations with us?
Well, it wasn't a matter of having the talk or a talk.
Yeah, we didn't have the talk. I only heard about that in movies and from my friends.
There was no the talk from the time you guys were little. We're given a bath. We're changing clothes. We talk about appropriate. We always give you guys appropriate names of body parts, of everything. If you guys ask a question, if you guys see something, so we always talk about everything appropriate, matter of fact, because those are just normal things that's happening. If you guys see somebody pregnant, you ask what happened, or how did this person had a baby? How did that happen? We just talked about having a baby. How did this person got pregnant? So it was a continuous conversation
as we developed.
Right, age appropriate in the home. As you guys grew up and as you guys developed, there was no time for the talk, because I never felt that there was a time for the talk. By the time you start sitting down a child to give them the talk, it is too late. Because they already have learned from seeing things on television, even though you don't give them television at your home, but they hear it on the playground with other children. They go to other friends' homes, if they go to friends' homes, and they see it on television, or they hear their friends talk about it, or they see things that might be what some parents might consider inappropriate at their friends' homes or their next door neighbors or whatever. So you always start giving them that information as they grow, as they get older. And then when you guys were like 7, 8, I bought Kevin the book, What is Happening to My Body for Boys, and then bought you the book, What is Happening to My Body for Girls. So you start reading and learning about what's happening to your body, what's going to be happening as you get older, and just started having those conversations as you read the book, and as you understand, and what you don't understand you ask, and then we just constantly have that conversation.
I guess that's probably why, when we did have our 4th grade sex ed class, I was like, I already know what they're talking about, but they're not at all saying what specifically we're talking about. It felt like a very ambiguous,
They go
something's
about it in a
happening.
roundabout way.
Yeah, but it was like they showed some random video of girls on a playground, and then like I guess a girl had developed, and then she felt uncomfortable because the boys were making fun of her, but then they never really explained what it is that was developing, even though we could see it on the screen. I mean, I was like, what is happening? I was like, I literally read a whole book about this already. I don't understand what is going on. And at the same time, because I already knew, I just felt bad for my classmates who didn't. And I think that's probably, I think the tactic that you guys use from explaining things as we were actively developing since childhood, because let's be real, it's not like kids aren't developing before they're teenagers. We are developing all the way through our entire lives. Something is changing. So the fact that you guys took it as a we'll explain it as they go, it's one is probably not as heavy of a conversation as parents if you do it in that way, because they have had all of this foundation from before versus parents who are like, okay, they're like 13, I guess I have to like explain body development. Well, they've been developing their bodies for 13 years. So now it's like they've noticed things already. You've noticed things already. Yeah. So they've heard it somewhere. Someone talked about it. Someone sang it in a song. They read it in a book. Someone clicked on a link and showed them something. Like, I mean, it's out there.
Not only that, if you wait until they're 11, 12, 13, maybe somebody has already approached them to do something that might cause them to be uncomfortable. That's where sometimes child sexual abuse comes in, right. That the child didn't know that this is inappropriate.
Right.
But a child feels uncomfortable. But now they don't know how to come and talk to their parent about it because it's not something that is openly spoken about at home.
Right.
So if the child knows about those things and the child is aware about those things, if something starts happening to them in the home, or they went to the friend's house and a neighbor or something happens, that they can come and say, well, we were talking about that the other day, and so somebody tried touching me here, and I thought that was wrong. What do you think, Mom? Is that, and they can come and talk to you or talk to the dad about what happened, and then you can broach the subject because you've already opened that door and they can easily walk through it.
Yeah.
But when you're a taboo, it's like, don't talk about that. You said penis? Oh my gosh. That's not, the kid thinks, oh my gosh, this is a bad word. I can't say this. He said vagina. It's a bad word. I can't say this. So when something happens, then they can't say it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
I can't say this.
Yeah.
That's why they keep it. It's I can't say this. It's a bad thing.
Yeah. That's whew. And that is so challenging. And I think it's even more challenging when the parent themselves grew up in a household where it was taboo, and everyone they know around them also grew up in households where it was taboo. So they don't have that conversation. They don't, you can have your parents can be adult, like you are married and you have kids, and they still cannot even say the word sex around you. It's like, man, like that was always really painful to watch as a kid growing up, how friends were struggling sexually with things, and their parents kept telling them, we don't talk about that. Like, they wouldn't even say the word. They just like, we don't talk about that. So when that was happening in their child's lives, they're coming to people like me. I'm like, they're coming to their other friends because the parents have already made it very clear that it's not a topic of conversation. So then there's this whole surprise, like, wow, my child was sexually active before. Like, how are they pregnant now? How are they, how they've been molested by who this whole time? And I didn't know. Why am I finding out now that they're 35? Like, that they
Yeah.
were molested with Uncle Joe, who lived in our house for 6 years. I didn't know this. Well, you also said they weren't allowed to talk about anything sexual in the home. So I feel like, and I don't think that has anything really to do with your cultural backgrounds. I think that just has everything to do with what you guys are trying to cultivate in
Right.
keeping the openness in
Right.
in the
Absolutely.
home. So,
And I think that's one of the reasons why one of the things that you always did, whether you were in boarding school or whether you were in college or even when you were at school in Owensboro, one of the things that you always did was you would call me and say, "Oh, mom, here is my friend. They have a problem. Talk to them because they can't talk to their parents." And I always was a surrogate mom to everybody. You know,
yeah.
yeah, mom, so and so need to talk.
I mean,
Talk to them.
guys, if you need a mom, a loaner mom, I can loan mine out anytime. Dad, loaner dad, you can borrow my dad. They're so open, and that's because they want to see kids succeed. They want to see us succeed. They want us to be well. They want us to be successful, and they want us to be safe, and they want us to be, you know, decent citizens of society. And if we're still growing and learning and they're ahead of us in life, why not find people who can mentor you along the way? So yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool how you guys chose to do that, and it's made topics for us so easy to have, like to the point where my friends are like, how are you able to get all those words out of your mouth? I'm like, because they're not curse words in my house. They're real words that people use that are important to say and talk about. Okay, so kind of transitioning a little bit to kind of wrap up, but we left for boarding school early, and then we went to college, so we were gone from our teens through our grown adult lives. How like how have you guys navigated the transition of parenting your child when they've left home and being a parent to an adult child, whether they're in your home or they're not? Like, had that, because that transition is awkward on both sides. It's not some easy, all right, now I'm an adult, thanks mom and dad. Like, at least not for us. I don't know, because again, I wasn't raised by fully American parents, but I know that there are parents that say, once you're 18, you are out of my house. Everything is on your own. You go live your life. Don't bother me. You'll figure out the rest from here on out. When you guys, and it's cultural. It's cultural. My African friends and my Caribbean friends all have parents like this that are like, I'm sorry, you're my child until we die. So, you've been our,
Yes.
the we were given the responsibility to make sure you make it through life as long as we have breath to see it happen, safely. So, how did you guys navigate the that transition of, my child is away, but they're still at that age where we should be responsible of counseling them and whatnot, and then getting to the stage of, oh wait, they're like adults, so we can't just tell them that they need to do this or they have to do this, but that they're in a space of life where they can make specific decisions for themselves, and realize that you guys are still the parents.
Well, first thing for when leaving for boarding school, after you, I cried myself for, and be depressed for a long time because my kids have gone to boarding school, cry all the way back home, and
Which, by the way, we chose to go to boarding school. They didn't force us. We wanted to go to boarding school. I know that's a misconception that kids are sent away to boarding school, but it was actually something we wanted to do, for academic reasons and really just being challenged in different schools. So yeah.
so after we dropped you guys off, and I cried myself all the way back home every time. and then go home and lie down in the bed and can't move for, several months
Okay.
because I'm so depressed and sad. It was not hard to parent you guys because we talked all the time, constantly on the phone. And because we had that open relationship from home, you guys would call us, talk to us several times a day, and would let us know what's going on. Whether
Nothing's
it's,
changed, by the way.
like we said, the good, the bad, or the ugly. And
Yep.
some days, I mean, Kevin would call like 15, 17 times a day, both Wally and I each would call constantly. Kellon was the only one that we used to not hear from, and we would
For a
worry.
while. Yeah.
For a while, and we would be like, "Oh, what's going on with that boy?" But we would, and then I spent a lot of time, and we knew what was happening with you all because you guys would tell us everything. And like I said, if you guys didn't make the right choice, we will go through that, how that looked like, and so. And then, of course, I spent a lot of time on the road driving, maybe once every 5 to 6 weeks, driving from Kentucky to Massachusetts and loading up my car with everything you and your friends want, snacks, and so, and take it to Massachusetts and seeing everybody, taking them to dinner and to whatever.
And it gave my friends who were in boarding school who again didn't have that relationship with their parents a time to talk to a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had our dorm parents, but they were also our teachers, so it was still weird, you know? Like they tried to also be like the parent in the dorm, but when you also grade me, it's weird. So having again it didn't feel different, at least to me, but how I would loan out my mom to my friends when I was living at home, I did the exact same thing when I lived away from home. Anytime my mom, whether my mom was on campus or not, I'd say, hey, my mom's on the phone, you have that issue, talk to her, and then we'll be fine. Or when she came, I'd be like, hey, you can run and grab food with these friends, bring it back, and then we'll all sit and talk and whatever. And that was, I think the transition was easy because we had that foundation of openness at home, so going to boarding school didn't change it. The only thing that was different was the distance.
The distance, and I spent a lot of time in hotels close to your school. I spent a lot of time on the road or in the plane.
And one of the things that really helped though is by the time you guys left for boarding school, I think we were comfortable enough knowing that your standards of morality, your standards of behavior, whatever you want to call it, we knew your personalities. We knew that you weren't going to go to boarding school and destroy yourselves.
Hmm.
And so that we had established a good communication. So like your mom said, and also we worked things out in a way where she could visit frequently while I was working. And so that helped. Again, that's part of what I was describing as the teamwork. And because in order for me to maintain my sanity about what's going on with my kids, I needed somebody to see what's going on. So I would say, when are you going to go see the kids? Because when she would go and see the kids, she can tell me exactly what she saw, what's going on, what's the progress, and I needed that in order for me to be able to go to work every day. I needed to know what's going on with my children. So as a family, I think we had a lot of good things going for us. So we had a good foundation. We knew our kids. We knew what kind that they would never get into certain behaviors. We knew they weren't going to go to boarding school and start getting involved, engaging in risky behaviors. There was that trust, and our kids. I feel like we had pretty much put our personality, you know. I think it would be scary if we were a dysfunctional home and we sent our children to a different state to go to boarding school. And of course, for me, I was happy to see you guys go to boarding school, um, because I knew that was the road to making you better educated. And we were willing to, regardless of what it would cost us, that was our number one priority. And that is, we have to give you guys the best the best possible education that we can give you, support you through that. Yes, it was difficult because at some point the whole house became empty and we weren't really used to that. But thank goodness that your mother could drive every several weeks to visit and then give me back that report so that I can function well. And of course, phone calls and stuff like that. I can remember Kevin calling me a number of times asking me how can he get through certain things, and I would say, okay, here's how you do it. And we still talk about it. He says, Dad, I'm so glad I called you when I was having these issues at Andover, because I put those things I practiced exactly what you told me, and it worked out. So, that open communication between children and parents, even as adults. I still talk to my mother. She called me today. We have once a week, my mother and I still talk. And believe it or not, I still ask my mother's opinion because she's lived in this world for long, and thank goodness she doesn't have dementia or Alzheimer's. She can still tell me things. And that's the way it should be throughout our lives. So yeah, that was a difficult time of our life, but I think we got through it with just having a good family foundation where communication and love and respect was already there before you guys went, and that it was well formed, it was well established in your hearts and mind, and you weren't going to come home to disappoint us. So
I think also the main thing about when you have to think about sending kids away so early for boarding school is that giving them the right foundation, giving them the roots. I always say we've given you guys the roots, and then it was time to give you all your wings.
Mm-hmm.
Took your wings on earlier than most kids would take their wings.
Right.
So, but you all know that you have the branches where you can come and rest on whenever you need it, and you use those branches a lot. But you were able to feel comfortable to using those branches to come and rest on any time. And we also had a really great staff because I was working in his office, I was managing his office, the psychiatric practice, but I had a really great staff, a really great support system. So whenever I had to go, they quickly and easily and gladly would take on my role and take on my stuff so that I would go with peace of mind and take on what I needed to do. So it would allow me to be able to go and giving you guys the roots and then allowing you all to take on your wings. A lot of parents don't allow their children to take on their wings, or they didn't give them the roots, so they get worried about having them take on their wings. You have to give them both.
Yeah.
As far as when you guys got into the adult phase, that was a little bit more challenging for us because we're so used to parenting you basically hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
I think we continued that kind of parenting hands-on, and it took a little while for us to kind of let go. You still want to do the hands-on parenting. We've always had that open relationship talking and everything, but transitioning your brain to know that, okay, they're adults. They're adults technically, but you still want to be parents. You still want to be that hands-on parent. And I think what really got me was a couple years ago when you were sick and Dad and I just got into doctor and nurse mode and start calling our colleagues and saying, okay, what needs to be done? And we just made all of the plans and then you stopped me and said, Mom, I consult with my colleagues on those situations for my patients. I would like to get in. I am not a child any longer. I would like to get in on the conversation
About my own health.
about my own health. It's my health. I would like to have a say in that conversation. I am an adult. And while I really love the fact that you guys care enough to, start consulting all of your advanced medical colleagues and everything, I just like to have a say. I just like to be at the table to talk about my own health. And I was like, oh, message received, loud and clear. She's an adult. We can't just start calling and making all the decisions and saying when and where things are going to happen.
Well, one of the things I do is I take my own. I look at my own personal life and I say, what was I doing at that particular age? I left. I moved from Nigeria to the Caribbean when I was 25 years old. My parents really weren't telling me what to do because they were far away. If I need what I would do, so I would call them. But there was that trust. So I think we still trust that you guys will make good decisions. And I think we still trust that if you need, you know when to call home. And when you call home, when you call us, we can always, kind of brainstorm things together and say, here's how this should be handled. And so that door of communication is always open. The difference now is that you have to know when to use it, because we're not, I there's been times I said, let me call Kevin about this, or let me call Candace about this, or I say, don't do that, because when you were at that age, you were figuring it out, and when you needed to call your parents, you did, and that's what it is. And so I solve most of my problems today, but there's still some times that I feel there's certain things I still want to call my mother on, especially if I need something done in Nigeria or something more to do with Nigeria, not so much within my household. If I need her advice about something, I'll call her just to hear her opinion. So I think that door of communication should always be open. But then it's not being forced on you, but you have to make the choice to when to use that.
I think the difficult part from the child's perspective, especially, I think it depends on the household you were raised in, because some kids are raised to know, like, they are consistently reminded as they get older that by 18 they better have figured it out, right? Like, they are warned their entire upbringing that by when you turn 18, your 18th birthday is the cutoff date. So they are left to figure it out. And I'm not saying that, hey, if you were at 18 and you were able to pay your own bills and you're able to support yourself and you did it successfully, that is awesome. Like, I commend my friends who have been able to do that and figure that out. It was painful to watch a lot of you do that, I'm not gonna lie, but I see the pride culturally of being able to do that, doing those are all first Basso experiences for 18-year-old American kids, being able to, buy my own car, have my own phone bill, pay my own tuition. Do, like, all of those things are epic milestones within the American culture. Within the culture I was raised in my household, that for us is as petrifying. And I'm not saying you guys weren't scared to do it. I'm just saying culturally that it's not seen as a passage of honor to cut your children off, to let them figure it out and we're no longer a resource to them. So for us, we did get a lot of support in how we navigated life. However, even in the transition from being parented to simply having parents who are willing to still guide you if you need them, it doesn't feel quite different, to be honest, because we have always cultivated an open communication household. So you guys almost don't have to call us to parent us. Chances are we're calling you. Right? Like you guys are going to get several calls a day because we want to make sure we're doing things well. So to tie a bow on this conversation, if you guys could give advice to my audience on, you know, one advice per topic. So on relationship, on marriage, and on parenting. If you had 3 crucial pieces of advice that you learned in all of these different, I mean, you guys took several pasos in your journey and you're still taking those steps. It's not like because we're adults that you guys no longer have steps that you need to take. It's not like being parents stops because we're adults. But what would you want people to know is the most crucial advice that you could give people navigating relationship in the dating stage and or marriage, and then parenting? What 3 pieces of advice in relationship, marriage, and parenting do you have?
Well, as far as, again, the foundation of what gives us a healthy life, healthy relationship with others is the ability to love, to give love, to show love to others. Whether that's somebody you're going to get married to, whether it's your coworker, whether it's your neighbor. That is so important because love is not selfish. Love is not greedy. Love gives. Love is nurturing. And so the reason why I see a lot of relationships fail is because people don't really love. They may love you because you look nice on the outside, okay? But then they find out when they get close to you that you're selfish and you're not willing to give, you're just willing to take. That becomes a problem. So I would say a person who understands true love and takes that into a relationship and meets somebody who is also loving. Remember, love is not selfish. If 2 people get together and it's not about me, it's about her, and it's not about her, it's about him, then where's the problem? And when they go into a relationship with that mindset that I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this other person happy, there is no conflict. And the conflicts will be minimal. Secondly, that love, okay, you raise children in a loving environment, they have no choice. By osmosis, they'll pick up on that. And they will take, and that becomes, and the beauty about children is, children are like an empty cup. If you put water in a cup and you seal it, if you come back 15 years from now, there's still water, same water, clear water is still in that cup. If you put dirt in it, 15 years from now, there's still dirt. So how you raise children, if you raise children in a loving home, that love by osmosis will filter in at an early age, and that's it. There's no room for anything else. Those children will not be hateful. They will have a certain moral standard. They will know how to treat other people. Unfortunately, it's not like that all around us, because if you look around us, there's a lot of selfishness, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of dysfunction, and that is the problem of a society. Inability to love others, inability to love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's really my closing statement, that it all boils down to love. Everything we're talking about really boils down to love, being able to love others and loving yourself.
How about you, Mom, from the perspective of being a wife and being a mom? What is your advice?
Well, I think for me, in the relationship, being a wife, being a mom, is doing everything I could to make sure that my household is home, that my children are well taken care of, that my children are well loved and safe, creating a safe space for them. And like Wally says, loving them unconditionally, protecting them when they feel, you know, threatened from outside, explaining. One of the things that I used to do a lot of was explaining a lot what is going on, why has this happened, why is this person behaving this way, why does this family behave that way, why, just a lot of explain a lot of whys, because you guys asked a lot of whys. Why does the teacher treat this child differently than how they treat me? Why does this child behave from this home differently than, just explain a lot of whys. And if you sit down and spend time with your children, spend time with the children. Don't allow electronics to raise your children. Because this is a big thing. I saw a lot of that when in our office, parents would come to our office and were upset because the children are not behaving. Oh, I can't take care of the child anymore. The child is dysfunctional. The child is not doing this and that. But the parent was spending more time on their phones and ignoring the child. So the child would then be running up and down the halls, jumping on the chairs, doing everything. The parent was not spending time with the child. So spending a lot of time with your child, investing in that child and letting that child know that he's important. He or she's important. That's what I did with you guys, spending a lot of time with you all. I didn't understand when parents used to say, oh, I can hardly wait for summer to be over to send the kids back to school. That to me, like, what? You want to send your kids back to school already? Because we had a lot of fun together. We had all kind of different programs to go to. We did a lot of different things at home. We did a lot of books, a lot of this and that, a lot of projects. And for me, it was a time spent, it was a time taught, it was a time interacting, and the time getting to know you guys and teaching you guys. So I didn't see the urgency of sending you guys back to school, because my responsibility, it was not the school's responsibility to teach you. It was their responsibility to enhance what I've already taught you. Give you more to enhance you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, putting the united front with my husband, and not, a lot of what he says, just always being a united front with you all, always supporting each other, showing love in the family, and all of that. That's the way you raise a good relationship with each other. Let the kids see that you love each other and support each other, and show them how to love each other within the home and family.
And from the perspective of the child, I think my advice to those of you who, are still in that stage of being parented, or you're trying to transition out of it, or depending on your culture, you're quote unquote an adult now, so you're just on your own. Whatever stage you're in, I think it's important, one, to know that your parents do the best within the context of what they know. And though they are raising you, or they've taught you things, and you're learning things in your culture and your generation differently from what they were taught, it's not that they are that they are bad people, or that everything you've learned is hogwash, but that it's just different based on a number of factors. And so once you're able to process that, it makes it easier to understand how and why they parented, whether it's from a generational perspective, a cultural perspective or a personal perspective on just how their household ran and what they grew up seeing and experiencing and being taught. Another thing is to also try to be open and honest with your parents as much as they would allow you to be. You can't force your parents to be open and honest. You can't force your parents to hear everything you want to say, but trying to keep an open line of communication with your parents, I think, is crucial in the development of life as we get older. So that way, if anything, they're supposed to be our built-in mentors. If they take that role seriously and we are comfortable with receiving them as our built-in mentors, we will get mentored as best as they can mentor us. And as we get older, we get to weed out the good, the bad, and the ugly and become who we are as adults in society. So, that's kind of hard. The transitions of life, they're all difficult for everybody involved, for the child and the parent. And yet each stage is so crucial and so important and so beautiful if you do it well and you do it with the intent of being caring and loving at the end of the day. I think you'll get through it. So hang in there, guys. Parents that are thinking about when their children go off to college and not wanting to think about it, or the kids who are in the process of figuring out their relationship with their parents as adults, whatever stage you're in, enjoy the whole process. And remember that at the end of the day, you are a product of all the things that you've grown up learning, whether that's from your parents or your guardians, whoever raised you, and the things that you'll continue to learn throughout your life. It's pretty cool how we're also individually packaged and brought up in different ways, and that's what allows us to be who we need to be in the world. So don't discount the things that you've learned from your parents, whether it was positive or negative. You've learned something, and now you can use that knowledge to be a better version of yourself for whatever it is that you're called to do in this life. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for kind of walking us through those different stages of life and showing us all those different pasos people can take, or how you guys chose to take them, and explaining why you took them. And is there any way that my listeners can contact either of you, whether it's on social media or something, if they have questions about anything that they would want to ask?
For me, they can email me, Curline, CURLINE @AOL.com, or they can call me.
Of course, they can call her. I can't. Oh, guys, I can't. She really is that person, though, guys. So
on Facebook.
She's on Facebook. Instagram. Yep, she's on Facebook.
Curline Courtney, CURLINE COURTNEY.
Yep. Curline Courtney on Instagram. So hit her up, call her through Facebook or through IG. She will more than likely answer, knowing her. So feel free to contact her. Dad, you're on Facebook.
Also on Facebook. I am on Instagram.
He's on Instagram and on Twitter. You're both on Twitter.
I'm also on Twitter.
Yes, they're both on Twitter. So I'll make sure to put all their information on my website. You can go to www.firstpaso.com/episodes page, where you can find information from all of the episodes, all of the guests, all their contact information. So I will post their information there. And I want to thank all of you guys for listening to today's episode. If there are any topics you want me to cover in the future, or any situations that are pressing on your heart to hear, shoot me a DM, post them on Twitter or on Facebook at First Paso, or on Instagram at First_Paso. If you relate to anything that they've talked about, whether it's from the dating side, the marriage side, the parenting side, to being the child, if you relate to me more, and being the child being raised by the parents and what that process is like, or your guardians, whoever you're raised by, please share those stories with me and those experiences. I want to hear from you guys, and I want to hear your stories so I can share those in future episodes, because your stories also help those that need to hear your story and learn from that. You can also go to anchor.fm/firstpaso to find your preferred streaming site to listen to episodes. And then you can rate them and leave a review, which I would greatly appreciate it if you did. And I thank you in advance for that. You can go to the website, firstpaso.com, to find out more information about this podcast, any sponsors that I have, becoming a patron, or even contacting the different guests from each episode. So until next time, thank you guys so much. Take care. Please stay safe. Continue wearing your mask. Continue washing your hands. Please social distance, but please don't disconnect. Mom and Dad, love you guys. Please take care. Continue being lovebirds over there in California. Sorry it's so hot. I'll send you some cool. You can send me some heat. Maybe we'll balance each other out. And hopefully I see you guys soon. Pandemic.
Sometime.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
All right. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was fun. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.